Thank you. Well, thank you again to National Concierge Association for having me to come and talk about my passion and something that I've spent my entire adult career. I'm just full disclosure, I'm 31 years old, but I've been doing this since I was old enough to drink. I was fascinated by wine and spirits from the time I was in college, and admittedly before it was legal for me to drink. But I really found the different cultures, languages, various expressions, how one thing can be something in one place, but then if you cross the globe in the exact same grape or the exact same style of distillation could be completely different, almost unrecognizable from maybe the primary way that we identified it before. So we'll go over things like the importance of place, important distinctions to make as a concierge, and your job is very much in the way that I see it, if I may, about not only being there for people when they need you, but it's all about presentation. And presentation is extremely, extremely important in that, as you'll see from what we learn in wine and spirits here, packaging plays an important role. And how you package yourself and your company, whichever concierge that you may work for, and how you interact with your customers, the more value added that you can bring to the table, in the same way that a bottle of wine, a beautiful label versus a not so beautiful label, will affect price and will affect rate of selling. It will also help you sell yourself. And I think that's really, really important, especially with the association. They have done an excellent job of providing these edifying courses and sessions, webinars, to help you do that. And I think this is probably going to encapsulate in many aspects a very real application of exactly the same thing, but to beverages. So having said that, the title of our webinar is Popping the Cork on Wine and Spirits, everything you've always wanted to know about alcohol but we're too afraid to ask. And it really is. I mean, for me, I encounter people on a daily basis in the hundreds. I mean, we do an incredible amount of volume for a little store here. And I hear the gamut of questions. Everything from the most basic, is Chardonnay a red wine, which, of course, Chardonnay is not a red wine. And hopefully by the end of this seminar, you'll definitely be able to make that distinction, but for nothing else. But then, of course, all the way up through, well, tell me, what's the bricks count on Moet Chandon versus Veuve Clicquot versus, and other people would look at me, cross-eyed, wanting to know, well, what does that mean? And you'll learn all of those things and be able to make those same distinctions and tell your own clients, yeah, you know what, I know what a bricks count is, and I know why this champagne is better than this, and I know why you prefer one thing over the other, and based on those preferences, I can help you find something else that you've never discovered before. And I think that's the most important thing to take away from today's webinar, is getting the right tools. So I'm going to give you the basic information required to be able to make informed decisions and be able to find and think very much for yourself in a realm which it appears very complicated at first, but once you get the basic principles that we're going to go over today, you'll be able to walk into any wine shop or in any restaurant and feel like, I don't know everything, but what I do know, it's enough to make me feel comfortable and have an air of confidence. Because, again, more than anything, as a concierge, it's so important that whatever you present to your customer is something that they're going to feel comfortable with. You're pitching a sale, whether it's helping get their dry cleaning or whether it's picking up a bottle of wine, whatever it is, they want to feel like you're the person to do it. So this particular picture, by the way, all of the pictures I've chosen for background, they all tell a story, and it's something that will give you kind of insider information. So everyone looks at this first picture. This is Trioni Winery, by the way. And Trioni Winery is based in Alexander Valley in California. They've also got a few properties in Sonoma, and that is near Napa Valley. The most expensive and prime real estate for growing wine in the United States. It's about $1 million an acre to grow wine in Napa Valley, and there's almost none left. At least the premium plots, they're all taken up by the names that you've heard of, everything from Opus One to Silver Oak, Camus, and some of the larger properties like that. And then there are lots and lots of other properties that are smaller that, in my opinion, are just as good, like the property that you see in front of us, Trioni, which you've probably never heard of, and it is by far in my opinion, one of the best values under $50. All of their wines are under $50 with one exception, and that's their Syrah. But the packaging itself, I think, is also one of the most beautiful pieces of packaging. This photo doesn't quite do it justice. The labeling is actually supposed to be, it's a banknote. The original Trioni that began Trioni Winery, the great-grandfather of the current owner, he was in banking, and he was tired of being in banking. He wanted to get out of that and out into the dirt, and there was a sort of gold rush of sorts with wine that had started to take over California, particularly as imports had become more expensive, France and abroad. So he started growing he had his own property and began growing Pinot Noir, Syrah, Zinfandel, Cabernet, all of the varietals, long before anybody would grow most of them, because for the most part, people back in, let's say it was in the late 1800s, I think like 1870 or so, everyone was only growing Cabernet. In the United States, over the last 150 years or so, has seen a great expanse. We grow Malbec, we grow Petit Verdot, we grow Grenache, we grow all of the varietals that were owned by Bordeaux for the longest time, and the growers of Napa Valley and Sonoma and Alexander Valley said we can do this just as well. Our soil is equally poor, and you're probably wondering, wait, why would you want poor soil? Well, we'll get to that, and that's a really important distinction. That's something not only that will help you sound great at a cocktail party, but when your customer is asking you, hey, why does this wine taste this way? And you can say, well, that's because the soil type is rich in limestone, has 3% parts chalk and 2% parts schist rock, and there's a bit of slate in there, and that's why you get that fruit backward character and forward minerality with white stone fruits and beautiful aromatics of white flowers. And it's simply, you can determine based on can we go back to that? Thank you. Yeah, and you can determine, so like all you have to do is, okay, so you know what, I don't know this wine, but let me find out where it's from, and based on where it's from, I can say, okay, you know what, this is what I can expect, and these are the aromatics I can expect. So you're instantly a professional.